Okay, we are pushing quarter past. Do we close the doors or? Yeah. Great. I'm going to do this in English, although I'm Swedish, so excuse my accent. Wow, I'm like so amazed you guys are all here to listen to me. I'm sort of an unknown name and I come from a really small company, huge in Norway, but pretty small in Sweden. So I'm like, wow, I expect like 2 or 3 like coming in here because everyone else was someone else or going to get their kids or so on. So I'm really happy that you're here. Thank you so much. I hope I will meet your expectations. Okay, so this presentation that I'm going to share with you today, this afternoon, is about artificial intelligence. Is it black magic? And I will provide you with good hints, best practices, how to actually drive your business and excel in what you do, to find the right strategies, and the most important part of it all, to actually stay on top of it. Improve, improve, improve. And I have no clicker, and since I'm pretty short, I usually walk around quite a lot, so you have to bear with me. And who am I then? And why should you be here and even listen to me? Why even trust anything I say? Well, I have quite a long career. I was born in the 60s, turning 50 next year. And here's the no. Oh. I started as an Air Force officer in the Swedish Air Force. That was sort of the starting of my work career. That was at the time when females were not allowed to be officers unless they did the military services and were actually approved and had the right grades. So I started there, and as almost most of us working with IT and telecom within the Swedish National Services, we sort of moved seamlessly into the security business, which I did as well. So I worked with information security for quite a while as a consultant. I also worked at Every, and this is a pretty fun story. I was looking for a job as a chief security officer, and I found this ad from EDB, which was the name that case, and it said, this is a great opportunity to work with offshore. And I saw myself going on a helicopter, going out there on the big offshore platforms, you know, like working 2 weeks, being off 2 weeks, awesome stuff. Only we were talking Ukraine. So that was a bit of a letdown, but a good experience. So I've had these positions as security officer, also worked as information security officer. And then being an officer in the core of me, I have management as my core competence also, which means that I got an opportunity to build an infrastructure team, and that's how it all started. So this year, it's about 10 years. I've been working with infrastructure, delivering global parts of infrastructure, data center services, both in Norway and in Sweden and other parts of the world. And today, I'm the Vice President, it's quite a cool title, of infrastructure at Base Farm, which is a pretty small country here, company in Sweden, but we are huge in Norway. We have customers like Norwegian, and here in Sweden we have Klarna, Resifarm, to mention just some of them. And as you might know, we were acquired by Orange. I'm obliged to say that in French. It's not orange, it's orange. I had to brush up on my school French now also. They acquired us in mid-June, and Orange was actually looking for the type of company we are. We deliver mission-critical services 24/7, 365, and I think the one thing they wanted, which I also wanted, and why I chose Base Farm once upon a time, is because of the dedicated staff we have. I have the best technicians there is. And that's just a fact. So now I'm going to go through and present a bit about how you can use different strategies and best practices. I'm also going to present a case study, just an example for one of our customers. I'm not allowed to say their name, but to give you some hints on how you can actually transform these tips and hints into reality. And there's an app also. Have you got the TechDays app? And you're supposed to rate me. I don't know if you're a Netflix fan. You usually watch these Black Mirror episodes. Some of you do. Have you seen that episode where they all go around rating each other and you get the social status from out of that one? Okay, so now you got my social in your hand. So please do that. If you have any questions, I would appreciate if you wrote them down or sort of kept them into your mind, and we'll do a short Q&A after the session. Perfect. Okay, so what does it really mean to be data-driven? Well, data-driven, that is about collecting and analyzing data. I mean, that's what we do every day. I'm a mother of 3 teenagers. So I spend most of my time collecting data to make sure that my kids are taking the right choices, staying on the right path. Some of you maybe are also parents of teenagers, and you know that slot you have of communicating. It's really, really small, and you don't get much information from the questions you ask. So you need to use your senses and collect data, social media. You need to talk to other parents. You need to, when they come home at 2 o'clock in the night, you go really close and smell them like, so what is this? Hopefully some good smells. You have to check the rooms. You pretend that you are cleaning, but you are really sneaking and looking into some hiding places. That's what I do anyway. And as an employee, that's what we do during our work days. I don't know about you guys, but feedback, that's really good on the paper, but you don't always have managers that sort of tells you, good job, Anna, you did a really good job today. Wow, I'm so happy with the work you're doing. So you need to like collect data and see actually, am I doing well? Am I being invited to those really important meetings? Is everyone getting quiet when I'm walking into the lunchroom? What's really happening? Am I getting the right invitations? So that's what we do all day through. And that's what we need to transform into our business. Because why do we need to be data-driven? It's about survival, right? Mother Nature equipped us with our senses, and all our other cousins and other animals out there, they also use their senses to survive. And traditionally, we use our eyes and ears to make sure that we collect data, we listen, we see. But we have some, like the mole here, for example. This creature needed to have some other ways of collecting data to survive underneath the ground. And that's what we need to do as well. So consider yourself being as clever as the mole, and what do you need to do to actually reach those business targets, which are the talk of the time. Every one of you working in a business trying to achieve some targets, this is what you want to do, right? You want to have efficiency, cost reduction, customer satisfaction, and more money. I mean, that's what you do every day. You probably came here to TechDays to get some good stuff and come back to your boss or your own company and say, right, now I know how to do it. And it's hard not to talk about data-drivenness without mentioning this IoT, Internet of Things. And I know there's a lot of other presenters out there who's been talking about this today, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow. But my take on this one is you need to know what you're looking for. And you know Indiana Jones? You all need to find your Indiana Jones within yourselves. Because you need to know, is this the complete map I have now? This information that I am collecting and analyzing, is this actually providing the right stuff for the target I need to reach? Because otherwise the risk is very big that you will fall into a big pit and be decapitated, just in the movies. So find your Indiana Jones, make sure that you interpret the data flows all around you, because there's so many components, fragmented data, small devices that provide or collect data from you or others, and they will put up a picture that you did not expect, because there's many architects and chefs out there. So be aware. Be aware of where the information is coming from and start by telling yourselves, what do I need to know? Okay, so is it black magic? And we're getting up to Halloween here, so I thought it was a good theme to talk about this a bit. But as we all know, there's no such thing as black magic. Although I know my network guys, maybe some of you are head of operations and you have a network team, they usually like to pretend they're working with black magic because they don't want anyone to meddle with their things. So they like, oh, you won't understand. It's so complicated. It's like black magic. But it's not black magic. It's just a very clever and efficient way to get data to get you where you want. Or, as Wayne Gretzky once said, to get where the puck is heading and not where it is right now. That's a very good way of putting it. So, we'll start by talking about artificial intelligence. It's a bit hard not to talk about this without talking about robots, because that's where you usually start. And I have some really good clips here to put you in the right mood from Boston Dynamics. There's let's see now. There's very many clips out there on YouTube, why am I not able to see this one? Sorry. Need to do this. And they just disappeared. This is artificial intelligence going crazy. Okay. There we have it. Okay, so this is your typical view of a robot, right? Some kind of machine that learns how to do simple things and collect data to actually do stuff like open doors or whatever, and actually interact with other robots. This is something probably you have seen before, and this is usually what we talk about when we talk about robots. And that's very nice and clean. They seem really friendly and everything, and it's like, okay, I don't have to be afraid on this one. Yep, it's terrifying. Okay. But the thing is with robots and AI, in AI we're trying to create an artificial intelligence. We are trying to recreate the thing we have in our heads, our consciousness. But nobody really knows what the consciousness is. And some of you might go to Max Tegmark's keynote tomorrow. And you probably read his book, Life 3.0. It's very good discussions in that book about consciousness and how do we actually know what it is and how do we actually know how to create it. And what if about robots? Is it really magic? When we interact with these robots, we have the same robot here, and he's doing the same thing, or she, I don't know. And then suddenly a human enters the room, and he does something that the robot didn't really expect. But he sort of keeps on opening the door. Imagine if that robot had a consciousness. I mean, if this was you, would you really like continue open a door? No, you would stand up and say, what the hell are you doing? Why are you trying to stop me? What's wrong with you? But this is like really scary, but no robots were harmed. And still, by having this interaction with a human, the robot keeps on doing the things it's was actually programmed for. And that's the huge difference, because they are trying to reach a target, while we humans, we have a purpose for what we do. Okay, I'm going to go back to my presentation now. Great. So, I'm going into the cultural part of my presentation. Edgar Allan Poe, an author. Maybe you know about him, read a couple of books. He wrote a book called Murders on Rue Morgue, where he's Detective Dupin, Auguste Dupin, very famous one. And this is a really clever example of why we are so clever and why we should really be the ones who help the robots excel and not the other way around. Because Dupin in this book, he uses a way of reading the mind. And when we think about artificial intelligence, I mean, that's what we really visionize. I mean, we've all seen those pictures. We've gone through all the altered carbon stuff on Netflix and so on, and Terminator. We are like expecting artificial intelligent robots being the ones who interpret us in the correct way and actually can read our minds and do what we wish and not what we are doing. So Dupin, just an example from the book, you have to bear with me, this is a cultural one, you will become better persons after this. He's walking down the street with his friend, and suddenly he says to his friend, "Yes, that man, he's really short, I do agree." And his friend goes, "What? How did you know what I was thinking of right now? That was the exact thing that I was thinking about." Well, Dupin, he had a clever way of observing everything his friend did, like he was walking on the street, he tripped on a small stone, and then when he did that, he became more aware of the path he was walking on, and he looked at some kind of paving there, and he saw, wow, this looks a bit like a nebulosa, a star formation. And then he looked up at the stars and saw Orion. And Orion was the name of the shopper this man worked, which was really, really small and looked really funny. And then he smiled. And then Dupin knew, okay, he's thinking of that man we met before who worked in the Orion shop. And that's the kind of way we want to behave when it comes to artificial intelligence. That's what we want to achieve. But we are not there, right? Because the robots are not artificial intelligent yet. But we want to use the effect of it. So let me present what I think you all should do. How to get there, because sometimes we tend to just sit back and wait, like, okay, I'll just wait here until somebody presents the AI to me. But no, let's start here and now, and you have already done it, most of you. I would suggest that we start with the perfect balance solution. Lagom, that's the best, right? Hybrid. Intelligent automation. So we'll just swap the letters and everything will be fine. No, this is about the ultimate hybrid, using the human consciousness together with the intelligent machines. We'll start with the input from manual actions, the intelligence, the ones that makes us actually reading minds. And then we'll use the AI to process an automation. And what we will get then is an intelligence in our processes. It's a kind of a mind game with words here, I know that. But it's the balance you want to reach. Because you've all met chatbots out there. When you are maybe trying to get some answers, you are buying something on a website and you want to get some answers, but all you get is a chatbot and you're not really happy with the answers you get, then it's like no FAQs around to sort of solve your problem. And then you find out, oh no, there's not even a number to call. There's no human I can talk to. And today, loyalty is not the strongest one. So what you probably would have done and what I should do is just leave that company and go to another website where I will get the right combination. And I have a really excellent example of this one. And to see what a perfect balanced solution could be. This is from a company who provides health services. I'll start by just showing you a small film here. I'm sure there's other companies who does that really well. But this is a company who provides services. And what they do is actually they give the individual, the one who needs the care, sort of a pack with all these devices and stuff you can put on you. And it will read how you feel and what you actually need. And then on top of it, you have a human, a customer service, who picks up the signals, the process intelligence from all the devices and makes this man like feel like, oh my God, they got perfect check of me. It's not just stupid devices, because sometimes someone would actually call me and look how happy he is. Yes, because the human behind it all got an input from the artificial intelligence devices, providing and say, okay, he's probably forgot his dose right now. Give him a call or a text message and make sure that he does it. So that is a perfect example of how you should do it. And there's a lot of other examples out there, and you probably met them already out there in your businesses. Great. Okay. So, automation. We've all been in these management meetings. You come in there and say, okay, I need to recruit guys. And they say, okay, let's start by automating stuff. And I say, oh, not again. But we all need to do it. I mean, that's what we humans do. We automate the way we live. But here you need to start somewhere. And either if you're a top manager, or if you're an operations manager, or if you're a techie, you need to contribute where to begin. Because either you can start at the top and tell everyone, this is the strategies for automation in our company. This is how we do it. Or you'll start by picking up one of the pain points down there somewhere, anything that might hurt. Oh, I should have the clicker, but I will get good exercise of this. Is it nice to have, or is it need to have? Maybe we should start with the time reporting. That would be nice, right? Don't have to click in that every time. Or is it more important to start with the invoicing process to make sure that we actually get the money flow coming faster into our company? And of course, the complexity versus benefits. That's probably what you do every day when you choose the queues at the supermarket or at the airport. You validate the queues and you see, okay, that guy still got his belt and watch on and he's next into the security control. Should I go behind him? No, I'll choose someone else. And of course, what have others done? We must do that. And then I have a really good example. As you can see here on the right-hand side, maybe some of you recognize the brand Cosabella, unless you buy it yourselves, or if you make someone else happy by buying really exclusive lingerie. Now you know it. They came into a situation where they needed to change the way they market products. They find out that they put too much money on their advertising spend and not enough bang for the bucks. So they actually choose to use a machine learning robot called Albert. He's one of them out there. And this is just an example. This is just numbers, right? But if you go out there and Google this, you will find a lot of other examples. And this is a huge return they got just by doing automation and just by cutting the advertising ways of doing business and using machine learning and automation, intelligent automation. And there was an article in Computer Sweden a couple of weeks ago, and it was about how we are doing. And it's always nice to sort of take a foot down the ground and think, okay, so how we're doing in Sweden. We are an anxious nation, and we like to compare ourselves with others. And we are actually doing better than others, at least of Europe, because here in Sweden, about 45% of all the companies were using some kind of AI solution compared to about 30% in Europe. But what they found was all the investments, the money spent on AI was actually spent on getting these high-end consultants, these Gartner executives or what have you not, that you took into your company and asked them, okay, so how to do this? Please advise us, give us some best practices, give us some Gartner quadrants and whatever. But instead of doing that, And this is something I have found during my years as well. All the innovation power, you actually have it right there on your doorstep, because your technicians, your colleagues, everyone is really anxious and they're really there to make their work life better every day. So if you get them on board, you will not only get a more cost-efficient automation process, you will also get the motivation and buy-in from your organization. And you all know how hard it is to get something done without having the buy-in from your organization, right? Because there we go again, robots, that would be really easy. You just press a button and they do whatever you want. But humans, we don't have those buttons, or we have a lot of different buttons to push. So remember that one. Okay, I have an example, and I thought what's really brilliant to use is the example of a public transportation case, because that is something we all can relate to. Some of us took the commuting train here, or we took the buses or the subway. We use them almost every day. And in this case, I'm going to go through 3 steps on how to do it and give you examples on how to achieve this. And the best thing is that these 3 steps will ensure you that you actually reach those business targets we talked about. That was cost efficiency, customer satisfaction, and more revenue. Okay, so let's start with the first step. One must always start with a target and purpose, right? And in this case, let's give an example of a target. This public transportation company, they wanted to have a service where they could actually track where you travel and give you the best offers on ticket models on demand. Like they say, they track, oh, Anna is going to Kista every day. Maybe we should give her some good offer and make sure that she actually uses our tickets instead of taking Ubers or other ways of communicating. And that's fine. But target is one thing, and it's just like being a manager. You cannot be a manager without being a leader, and you cannot have a target without having a purpose. So all your targets needs to have a purpose. And in this case, what was the purpose of having this? Well, the first one, always customer satisfaction. Buy our services, come back, use us, recommend us. Availability. That's what we all want, on demand. And you know how restless we all are. It should just work. We hate when it sort of stands there and nothing happens when we press the app. And it should feel personal. And that's the new black for us now. We need to feel like this device or service that the company is giving me, it's for me. And they have designed it especially for me. And then I will really enjoy it. Secure. Of course, with GDPR and other regulations out there, we need to feel like this device or service is secure, providing and protecting my data and making sure that nothing is breached. And value for the money, of course. I mean, that's what we do. And that's something that is really easy to find out today. It's so easy. I can compare it by just a couple of clicks on my phone to make sure that I am getting the correct value for money. So this is what you need to start with. Have a target and then go down to the purposes. Next step. This is where you design it. And if you have the target and purposes, it should be easy to start and design the stuff. But you must remember a couple of things when you do the design of the data collection. It needs to be controlled. And controlled, that means that you need to be in control of security, making sure there is no data breaches, or if there is, you should know about them. Vulnerabilities. I've been working with risk management for many, many years, and this is one of the best parts of it all. Being really skeptic and pessimistic, that will get you far. Because if you have check of it, you won't get surprised. Surprise costs a lot of money and a lot of energy. Redundancy. Do you need redundancy? It has a price tag, right? I know, because I work at the service provider. And you need to be transparent, because everyone out there who's using your services, they expect to understand how their data is flowing and how you do when you collect data. But at the same time, you need to be compliant. And I'm not going to go on about GDPR, because you've probably been at tons and tons of presentations and workshops about GDPR. So you all are there now. We need to be transparent, but at the same time, we need to protect the personal data. And here is the one thing, if we go back to the human role in this intelligent automation, this is where some of us lose track of ourselves, because we think, right, we've done the design perfect, let's just collect data. But what we tend to forget is that the actual data collection has to be done by someone, because we don't have the AI robots there. We have humans, and the humans in our organization, they are the one that is going to play the violin and play the music you have just designed. And if that design doesn't match the organization, this will totally fail. So the design you do needs to be designed from your organization, because the human consciousness, that is what playing the main violin. Don't forget that one, because we are adding the intelligence. So do your design, remember the consciousness. I have an example here, and now I have a picture for some of your tech nerds out there. And so just to make you a bit happy, don't ask me too many questions about this one. This is like the full mesh. I brought this along. It's not that I can explain it from A to B, but I just wanted you to get it into the context. Because what we need to do is we have the full mesh. We need to collect data from everywhere and everyone in order to make sure that we reach our targets and our purposes. So we are using the Internet of Things with an application layer, which our customers are using. But in the bottom, and maybe this is the hardcore stuff and where my traditional role comes in, it's just plain infrastructure, right? There's nothing sexy down there. It's just servers and network and data centers and storage. But this is a very good picture which actually shows all the components you need to add to reach your design flow. I won't stick on that one, otherwise you will start asking me stuff. Okay, so what is the third step? We've gone through the first one, where you need to have targets and purposes, and the second one, you need to have a good design, data flow, remember the organization, the humans. And now, how am I supposed to know when I reach my target and purposes? You need to define when the objective is met. You need to design the feedback loop. How on earth are you else going to know that you reach your targets, that you have customer satisfaction? Well, you need to design the way you collect feedback. And that is also something that we tend to forget. We just are happy, it's flowing right, no incidents, perfect stuff. But how do I know that the service is really appreciated until the revenue starts going down? You need to find out where the data collection points for feedback are. Is it Yelp? Is it Facebook? TripAdvisor? Or never underestimate an influencer, right? Maybe we have some influencers here. Maybe they'll rate me as well. So you need to design your feedback harvest setup. You need to find that loop that makes you improve all the time, because this is what it's all about, continuous improvement. But there's always a dark side, right? Just like in Star Wars. I'm also a Star Wars nerd, just so you know that one. And you have to do the what if. What if everything goes down the drain? And you need to paint the devil on the wall, måla fan på väggen, as we say in Swedish. Hacked. What if we are hacked? What do we actually do? Are we prepared? Because you should always start by thinking, someone is in there, someone is in my systems that I don't want them to be there. Just start by that one, because they are there. If you have hackable systems, which we all have, they are there. They are just waiting for the right opportunity. So threat hunting, my friends, that is the first one. Security controls. What kind of controls do you have in your organization to pick these events up or the incidents up that will direct you to the right kind of management of the security breaches? And what about passwords? If you're using your robots, your robots, intelligent robots, how will you validate them? Most of us say, okay, let's just use two-factor authentication. Perfect, that will fix everything. But it's a bit hard to ask a robot about what was the name of his teddy bear when he was 5. I don't think he had one. And another thing that I find is really interesting here, because going back to what is the largest threat, we are all afraid of robots, they're going to take our jobs, but that's not the case, because the really dangerous part is actually ourselves. We have the most advanced software there is, our brains, right? And robots, they will not hack the code unless we'll tell it to. But we guys, we hack it all the time. Like, we program to replicate, that's what we're here for. But somehow we have managed to hack our own code because we are not interested in having like 70, 80 kids or so on. Seems a bit tedious, but we still want to do the replicate stuff because that's fun. So we sort of hack our code and we provide ourselves with other pills or ways of doing it, which means that we can hack our code and replicate without replicating. So that's what you need to think about. The humans are the biggest threat because we use our feelings. Okay, so this is actually the takeaway slide and the one that I think sums it up. So how to become a more data-driven company? Well, to repeat it all, start with intelligent automation. Automate, automate, automate. There's no stopping you. Just start it. Just go ahead and use your organization. You don't need those fancy consultants. You have it all in-house. I promise you, if you go out there and ask everyone how to do this, you will get millions of good answers and they will be able to realize it as well. And you will get an organization that loves automation. And that's really a good way of starting it. Targets, targets, targets. Location, location, location. Targets is where you start. And that's also kind of a management stuff. If you want an organization to do what you want, you need to have crisp and clear targets so everyone knows where you are actually heading for. Boost innovation powers in your organization. That is so important, never to forget. And I know sometimes we are a bit anxious because we don't want to bring the question up with automation, because what if everyone's scared that I'm going to fire them all? But it's not about that, right? It's about making ourselves and what we deliver a bit better. And that's what it's all about. So use the innovation powers you have in your own organization. Create the feedback loop. Make sure that you know that what you are doing is what the customers expect. Manage the expectations. And if there's one thing you should take away from this session, go back and get yourself an automation manager. That's what you need, guys. You need someone who takes the entire responsibility on the top, sets the strategies for the company. This is how we automate. You probably don't have that today, but that is the new black, I assure you. And there's a really good book that I actually would like to recommend, The Phoenix Project. It's a pretty old book, and some of you might have read it sometimes before, but it's about how helping the business win. And I would recommend you to actually read it. I bought it for my organization, and sometimes you get a bit blushing because you can recognize yourself in it, which is always not that good. Okay. That was actually the last slide I had, and please just evaluate me and rate my social status. And otherwise, if you have any questions, that will be the time now. Are you ready to go home? Yes, so am I too. If there's no questions, thank you so much for coming here. I hope you enjoy the rest of Tech Days and hope to see you all at Max Tegmark's keynote tomorrow. Thank you so much.